Okay, hi everybody, and welcome to our Pisces pre-full moon webinar. We're right in the period when the full moon will be occurring, and that is on the 12th, at least as far as GMT time is concerned, at in the afternoon GMT at 2:53:42. And so we will be beginning our exact time full moon broadcast at 1:15 GMT, and I think in the chat box before long or now you will be able to see the link for our exact time full moon broadcast. So if you don't have your own activities to go to, we certainly would be happy to have you join us. Well, here we are with this concluding sign, Pisces, a sign of pralaya, of dissolution, or of karmic rewards and fulfillment. It always dissolves or somehow synthesizes or summarizes the cycle which has gone before. Now, in the banner, we see the mantra, I leave the Father's home, and turning back I save. The Father's home, from a certain perspective, at least from the human perspective, is the monadic plane, where on the monad is found as the second subplane of the cosmic physical plane. And that is where the great adventure has commenced long, long ago, before the forms through which we work were even human. There was an involutionary descent into ever more complicated forms of matter until we finally reach the depths of the mineral kingdom, participated in that even while remaining the full monad on our own plane, and rising into the vegetable and animal kingdoms, and finally where we find ourselves now in the human kingdom, the fourth kingdom of nature. Some of us just about ready to move into the fifth kingdom, the kingdom of souls, which begins that movement at the first initiation in that range, and the causal body moves on to the second subplane of the mental plane. So a great transition for humanity, for large numbers of human beings, is taking place and about to take place. At first, it's interesting, we have the exoteric ruler of this sign as Jupiter, and yet it is a magnificent sacred planet. But it gives different kinds of fulfillment, and the fulfillment of matter over consciousness is one of the things that it presents to us, as well as the emergence later into the fullness of understanding, the understanding of the soul. And interestingly, both the hierarchical ruler and the esoteric ruler are ruled by an apparently non-sacred planet called Pluto. It's an esoteric planet. Some have demoted it to the status of planetoid, but wait till they experience its effects. It has every reason to be called a planet in terms of its power. And this is the story in Pisces of the two fish, the soul and the personality, and their successive dominance. At first, the energies or forces of matter engulf, and that's another way of talking about Jupiter, engulfment, engulf the soul and consciousness. And the consciousness is a slave to all of the material movements and impulses. And this is depicted for us in the Bible as Jonah, who is the consciousness, being swallowed by the whale of great size. But later, of course, everything reverses, and while I can't actually say that Jonah swallows the whale, the soul certainly becomes dominant. The greater fish is now the ruler, and the lesser fish, the personality, is captive to the greater fish. We see this in our Jafra illustration here. It largely focuses on the planet Neptune, interestingly enough, and the character there looks very much the way Neptune is depicted, and the way astrologically the physiognomy of some Pisces people shows itself. So the god Neptune is somehow holding the two fishes. Pluto is not really depicted in this particular illustration. But what is interesting is the role of Pluto, which is a severing role, and it cuts the link, the thread, which binds the two opposing halves or forces together. And this leads eventually to the liberation first of the soul from the human form on the lower 18 subplanes, and eventually leads straight into Shambhala with the liberation of the monad from identification either with the personality or with the soul in the causal body. So that is a true liberation. Sometimes it is said that people will end their series of incarnations in Aquarius as the world server, but there are some who choose the more arduous path under Pluto and under Neptune, which will make of them the world's savior, and they make their way to Shambhala, where the great saving force comes forth. There's so much of the monad and Shambhala which you could say belong to the planet Neptune and to the planet Pluto and to the sign Pisces, because it is for the sake of salvation of lower forms and their more rapid upliftment than might otherwise be possible that we as the monad have descended in through the 5 lower planes, and on our return journey in this pilgrimage, because we are the divine pilgrim, we begin to lift the lower lives. So this is the story of the red cattle of Geryon. You know, the red cattle are those human beings who are driven by ordinary desire, and there is an uplifting of them in a chalice in this labor of Hercules. So although Neptune is not mentioned by the Tibetan as an ordinary ruler, either hierarchical or esoteric or even orthodox, it is mentioned as a special ruler of Pisces, and probably in a way the highest of all the rulers of Pisces. Neptune is the most powerful second-ray planet monadically considered in our solar system at this time. So that gives us an idea of the 3 planets, Jupiter, Pluto, and Neptune, which are concerned with this sign of summation, of synthesis, and of salvation, a sign in which the blessings or the curses of karma are fully absorbed in preparation for a new cycle. Now, Francis Donald has provided us, as usual, with a number of images. Let's see, the first image here is called the chrysalis, and the second image is called the eye of the soul. And we will refer to these a little bit as we go along, perhaps not reading all of them, but on the website, and maybe BL and Brett, you could put the link for the website where these images can be found, and some of the text, so people can read more fully than I will be able to do at this time. So let's see where we are here. Yes. Okay, so in this first text, he mentions something about the chrysalis. The chrysalis is that form in which the transformation occurs, and the larva, the worm, the caterpillar, becomes winged and turns into the butterfly or the moth. In the first cycle of experience upon the wheel, the soul itself is in captivity to substance. Interesting word, substance, because it always means that which substands a certain level of matter. It has come down into the prison house of matter and linked itself to form. And this, of course, is the great sacrifice that we go through relatively under the inspiration of that great being called Sanat Kumara, who is also called the Great Sacrifice. So we are somewhat in imitation of that great Lord, who is an emanation of the planetary logos. A disciple finds himself between the night of the form world and the dawn of soul contact. You see both the night and the dawn are there. Through the crisis of death, and the quote from the Tibetan here, death of desire, death of the personality, and of all which holds him between the pairs of opposites, soul and personality. Pluto, shown in this image midway between the moon and the dawn light, has shifted this disciple's focus away from the world of form to a place of deep introspection, and yet he does not see the radiance of the higher realms. So we see within the chrysalis the attitude of the thinker, the attitude of deep introspection. But here is Pluto up here between the world of the sun and the world of the moon, and Pluto is staging his release. In the distance here we see the first ray Lord, who is the Lord of death and in a way the Lord of liberation, cutting the consciousness of our disciple away from preoccupation with the form worlds. At first, in those earlier incarnations in Pisces, one is very much engulfed by matter form and can see nothing else. One is highly impressionable to exactly those forces which obscure the consciousness. One could say one is overwhelmed. One is engulfed by them. That's the Jupiter-Neptune effect, like a great wave which has come over the consciousness. But later, there is an elevation and a clarification and a rising out of this condition of being overwhelmed by matter form. Let's see what else is said here. I think he says, this is another little description. Excuse me, I probably won't have time to read all of it, but some, as he has throughout the long ages of his existence and will many times in the eons which lie before him, the Piscean native prepares for death. See, this is another way of looking at his attitude inside the chrysalis. He retreats deep within himself to a place that stands between the night of form world and the dawn of that which will follow. He is swayed and turned by both, and as he struggles against fear, the moon's troubled waters fill him with doubt. Form ever clings to the past, while the inner spark leaps towards the source. Again, the image here that describes what we have just seen or just read. In the midst of his struggle, unseen and unheard, a Lord of will, we see him in the distance, right? There he is over there. A Lord of will spirals from the inner realms into this outer place. His presence fills our seeker with peace. In this moment of profound calm, the gateway into life more abundant flashes across the disciple's inner vision, and he realizes that death, as he has learned to view it, is an illusion born of fear. DK, interestingly, he so often speaks of the eternally lovely secret of death. Amazing words on which to contemplate. He releases his grip on the past, and the form world loses its hold on him. He shifts his point of tension beyond the chrysalis, which now appears to him as a binding sheath, and following his sutratma, the silver thread that has anchored him in his body, he passes through the narrow passage, kind of an idea of the needle's eye, which later must be passed as we enter the cosmic ethers and the Buddhic plane and leave the 21 subplanes, which are the dense physical body of our solar logos, behind. Maybe a few more things to be said here. Yes, this image depicts the two related but radically different gateways, openings to consciousness of different kinds. Our seeker must pass through the narrow neck of the chrysalis, whereas the first-ray Lord can move at will between the planes and separate form from the formless realms. Sounding forth a note of dissolution, he raises his arms, and through his focused intent, a wide, flame-like opening appears, imbued with the presence of the silent watcher. Very poetic and beautiful words, and sort of suggesting to us this eternally lovely secret of death. Maybe a couple more here. Well, I think you can read this. You can read this on the site where these images are found. The first ray is the controller of the death drama in all kingdoms, a destruction of forms which brings about release of power and permits entrance into light through the gateway of death. This is the positive way of looking at it. It's very Plutonic. I was looking just the other day at some of those trial in these Nuremberg trials, and later when this Adolf Eichmann was apprehended, and he was the architect of what was called, in relation to the concentration camps, the final solution. And it was interesting to see what a lot of Pisces this man had in his chart. Of course, that was a very negative demonstration of the finality which Pisces rules and which Pluto rules. The disciple comes through Pluto under the destroying power of death, death of desire, death of the personality, and of all which holds him between the pairs of opposites, in order to achieve the final liberation, that would be liberation into Shambhala, which is also much ruled by Pluto. Pluto or death never destroys the consciousness aspect. Well, there are just beautiful things being said here, and I recommend that you go to them and study them, in your study, your lifelong study of esoteric astrology as the Tibetan has presented it. And if you want to hang around for a while, around the year 2025 and following, DK has promised to write further on the great science of astrology. Now, I think that may be all that we will deal with at the moment. This idea of the fish is also very strong, and here is the rider on the fish of personality, but many are the liberated fishes, and Francis tells us they can be found very faintly here in the sky. Let's see if we have some kind of text a little bit about that. Possibly. Okay. And possibly not. Let's see. Oh, yes, the eye of the soul. Okay. This is what this image is called, and you can kind of see the eye of the soul here in terms of the sun moon image of this fish. And upon the reversal of the wheel, which is really a redirection of energy currents in the etheric body, the soul proceeds to detach itself from the personality and reattach itself in consciousness to the one who sent it forth. Such is the climaxing story of Pisces. And this again is the story of the two fishes and of Pluto, which cuts the thread which binds the two opposing lives together. So here Francis is using a different set of metaphors. The eye of the soul depicts the next stage of Piscean progress. A fish, representing the vehicle of personality consciousness, and its rider, the captive soul, can't get off of that fish, I guess, have together navigated the waters of the lower quaternary for countless eons, millions of years really, inexorably drawn by his monad, having so much to do with the sign Pisces as both the beginning and the end. The little one that we see in this image urges his Piscean vehicle to lift itself beyond its own watery element. Water is another symbol for matter. Together they emerge from the dark waters of substance. But in the rare atmosphere of soul contact, the fish, which is the personality self, occultly dies. And Francis tells us, if we look closely, I suppose very closely at this image, we will see the sky filled with those fish who have gone before. And this represents the transformative agency of Pluto. Pluto never destroys the consciousness aspect, he tells us. So we have the sun-moon triangle, and also depicted in this particular image are the three functions of the Christ, which I would recommend that you read in the book, The Reappearance of the Christ. And they are, just to name them, the Christ will function and does function as the point within the triangle, the dispenser of the water of life or waters of life, and the nourisher of the little ones. The little ones being initiates of the first and second degree who are nourished towards the higher degrees of pure initiation. So you can see in the reappearance of the Christ on these pages 83 to 86 or so, you will find the description there. So we're very grateful to Francis for providing us with these images and with the illuminating text that he has provided, either on his own or from Master DK. You know, we have these periods of the full moon. They are very special, and we have to take care of our consciousness in such a way that we, even while performing our mundane duties, we leave preoccupation with the mundane behind us and attune with those higher energies which are uniquely available at these particular times when the door really opens and we can attune with the energies which condition all things, and we can build these energies into our causal body towards the day of its climactic dissolution at the fourth initiation, which I'm sure lies ahead for all of us who may be involved in these kinds of meditations, whether it comes in a few lives or a few more lives, whatever will be the case, we will go through this liberation in relation to which all of those planets, Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, have their part to play. Okay, friends, I think we've reached the point where we can begin to deal with our meditation. Excuse me. So we are together, a certain number of us, some 70 of us or so, and we will work to prepare for the actual exact moment of the full moon, and we will increase our point of tension by using these this meditative approach. We are really here, almost entering the day of safeguarding. We're still involved with the day of dedication. It's a 7-day process, really. But 12 hours before and 12 hours after, we have this process of receiving and holding the descending energies, and then we distribute them in the 3 days which follow. This is the rhythm that the hierarchy follows and which we can learn to follow as we safeguard our consciousness for the reception of unusually potent energies every month. So let us now begin. So we withdraw our consciousness from the personality and its vehicles. The Raja Yoga formula, I have a body, but I am not that body. I have emotions and desires and feelings, but I am not them. I have a mind with all of its many thoughts and thought forms, but I am not those thoughts and thought forms. What then am I? So we learn, in fact, that we are the soul in incarnation. We are consciousness immersed in the elemental worlds of etheric, physical, astral, and mental substance, but we are consciousness, or more precisely, being consciousness. In the silence, we learn and appreciate that we are, and that which is has its sensitivity, and that sensitivity, touching the other aspects of creation, or even what is within the content of the individual, that is called consciousness. So, as we abstract ourselves from identifying with our customary perceptions in the lower 3 worlds, we find ourselves slipping into the world of the soul, on the higher mental plane, crossing the dotted line, so to speak, and as if entering that world where spiritual light, spiritual love, and a spiritual sacrificial will can be found and are the main energies as the ordinary perceptions fade out. And we come to realize that the ordinary perceptions must be transcended, and that the soul energies really begin to blot out the energies of matter form, the forces of matter form. And at this time of a great sensitivity, for Pisces is maybe the most sensitive of all the signs eventually, we begin to feel this presence of the soul. The solar angel within us, as the angel of the presence. And things have to quiet down quite a bit in terms of our usual thought and feeling for this inner world to make its impression. It's a superimposition upon our ordinary consciousness and a fading out of our ordinary consciousness in the light and the love and the sacrificial power of the soul. And as we reach out towards our brother and sisters, our fellow souls, we are becoming aware of the members of the new group of world servers who are more radiant souls in so many places on the earth. And through the heart we feel our soul oneness with them. Wherever they may be, and we don't have to know them personally. It's a deep, subjective group doing its best to carry out the divine plan in many different places and in many different ways. And in that same soul type identification, we're reaching out to the many men and women of goodwill being love in action. They are characterized by love in action. They may know nothing about occultism and the inner science and all that, but they have this love that works out as the performance of the good. And there are many such, and we take a moment to identify in soul with them. So wherever they are and whatever they do, as long as it's action towards the welfare of humanity on the planet, they are men and women of goodwill. And somehow they are included within our consciousness. And finally, we really have to include all humanity considered as souls and not necessarily as personalities which oftentimes go astray. The soul contains the good, and in only the rarest cases is there any problem with the formulation found on the higher mental plane that we call the egoic lotus. So it's as if we somehow include all of humanity in the body, out of the body, as one great soul group, even though outwardly many may be demonstrating in a way that is not yet connected consciously with the egoic lotus and the solar angel. But somehow all of humanity is included in our consciousness. And there is the realization, the growing realization, the subtle realization upon which we do have to work in order to make it increasingly real, that there is no my soul or thy soul, no separation in that sense, but only the one soul, the all-inclusive consciousness. And so we can say the ancient second ray mantra, naught is but me, not the individual me, but this me that is the one soul. Naught is but me. And that's a very subtle realization and very important one. And in Pisces, one can really practice that realization with good effect. And even a minute a day practicing this realization is something. Naught is but me, and this is a big blow against individualism, egotism, and all those limiting separative factors. It's as if we are all together, focusing in the soul-infused mind, the energies of the soul, of the petals of the egoic lotus, and even of the jewel in the lotus are pouring into our point of tension on the mental plane, our mental unit, increasing the projective tension of that point, which we can consider like a group point. We're absorbing the soul into our projective mechanism by which we build the antakarana. Different types of will descend into our mental unit, our point of tension there on the mental plane. The will to initiate, first ray. Will to unify, second ray. The will to evolve, third ray. The will to harmonize, fourth ray. The will to act, fifth ray. the will to cause, sixth ray, and the will to express, seventh ray. This all strengthens our point of tension on the mental plane. And it is really the soul-infused personality that must do the projecting into the higher worlds. So, arising from our astral body via the imagination is an image of a beautiful bridge of light. It passes through the point of tension of held energies on the mental plane and rises towards the monastic permanent atom, the lowest part of the spiritual triad, the point of the abstract mind, and really one day will rise into the buddhi, into the spiritual will of Atma, even into the monad, and it contains all the colors of the rays. But for us, two of those colors are most prominent, the color of our soul ray and the color of our personality ray. Which would be, by one way of reckoning, red for the first ray, indigo second, green third, yellow fourth, orange fifth, silvery rose or light blue for the sixth, violet for the seventh. And so we realize that as the rainbow bridge, the bridge of many-colored light, passes through our point of tension on the mental plane, with those collected energies, changes occur. A reorganization occurs on the mental plane, and we're ready to raise the bridge of two-colored light, emphasizing the two colors particularly, in the midst of all the other colors. Let's visualize that. Practically speaking, it moves towards the monastic permanent atom. If we achieve that, that's quite a bit, but still more is required because this bridge is being built from the other side also by the higher powers, and there's going to be a meeting between what we project upward and what is projected downward, using up and down, of course, figuratively. And what we'll do is, as we send the beam of brilliant light along the two-colored bridge within the larger bridge of all the colors, we'll use the second ray mantram, I see the greatest light, and outwardly we will sound the Om, using the second ray mantram 3 times as we see our individual bridge entering the realm of the triad and even touching the realm of the monad. This is advanced meditative work, but the more we can get our understanding going and our creative imagination functioning, the more readily we will contact these higher energies. So inwardly you proclaim the mantra, I see the greatest light. Outwardly will sound the Om on a second ray note. As we sound this word of power of projection, we can imagine from the other side of the bridge and from those higher aspects of our nature, a projection goes forth which meets our projection and will bring about an illumination, a great light. And the more we practice, the more it will work. And the higher worlds will be revealed to us Our attention is now in those worlds where the masters normally focus their consciousness the worlds of the spiritual triad, embracing the entire world, the entire globe. And we're not focused there yet, but we are en rapport, at least, with the possibility of the descent of spiritual mind, spiritual love, wisdom, spiritual will, and pure being of the monad into our consciousness, our normal consciousness. And so maybe we have entered a space in consciousness from which we can appreciate the presence of the great ones as they focus on triadal levels. So we will express through the Om our salutations to them, which means our willingness to work with them in the expression of the divine plan. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all masters. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we most closely work, Master M, KH, DK. Salutations to the Master Morya, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kutumi, whose ashram is most responsible in relation to the process we call preparation for the reappearance of the Christ. Salutations to the Master Jwal Kul, the messenger of the Masters, who has given us the blue books and so much of what Blavatsky presented in the Secret Doctrine. Salutations to your own master as you know him to be or conceive him to be. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of our planet. And from this sense of solidarity with the great ones who aid humanity in its evolution and who formulate the divine plan and do all they can to bring it outward into the material plane, we raise our consciousness, our thought, to the center where the will of God is known, to Shambhala. However we want to think of that great and for us non-approachable center we can't enter, but at least with reverence and in all humility we can attempt together, identified as the group soul, to attune to the presence of Sanat Kumara, the king of Shambhala, standing in the very center of Shambhala. Thus we attempt as a group to attune to that one who comes in the center of a point of clear cold fire in the midst of the initiation process. And silently, inwardly, we sound a long Om, imagining the group imbued with his energy of purpose and of will. So inwardly, a long sustained Om, as we imagine this imbuing of the group with his energies as much as we can receive in an attenuated form. And we hope that we may absorb this energy of purpose and of will, and that it may guide our little wills, as the great invocation tells us. We come together at a point of tension in which are found the light, the love, the power that we more essentially are. There is a golden pathway that leads into the midst of an indigo sun where we can expect to find the presence of Master DK, who knows so much concerning these energies, ray energies, planetary energies, energies of the creative hierarchies. So as if we hover above the golden pathway, as if we are one being with one consciousness, seeking to penetrate into the mysteries of these ray and planetary energies which are intensified at this time. We move with the golden pathway. as it is absorbed and absorbed and absorbed into the indigo sun. And it is now as if we are in the midst of the indigo sun, great second ray sun, reflecting the blue logos of our solar system, and here in our approach to the available energies, we seek to be as if outposts of the energy of Master DK, his consciousness, his understanding, so that these available energies may be real to us, not just words, not just something we learned, but present, energetic presences, which we can absorb and which help to build our spiritual nature and the spiritual nature of all humanity. So we realize that we are potentially here a group outpost of the consciousness of Master DK. We're going to rise in consciousness towards two rulers of Pisces and one special ruler. We will rise towards the great planet Jupiter, the exoteric ruler, conveying beneficence, benevolence, selfless generosity, hope, a spirit of inclusiveness. We're going to rise towards that remote, austere, very esoteric in a way, ruler, Pluto, conveying the power to purge our personality of all hidden obstructions to soul infusion. And we still do have them, do we not? And finally, in the hierarchical sense, we'll rise towards Pluto again as it negates or can negate and even destroy the power of the personality as an inhibition to expressing the soul, and even will destroy what we normally call the soul body, so that the true soul may be unveiled. And finally, that special ruler of Pisces, Neptune, in its high aspect, conveying transcendent compassion and the power to identify with all aspects of the soul, including the anima mundi, the soul of the world, a deep power of identification which helps us realize that naught is but me. And that's not just human beings, that's anything. Anything we perceive, the Neptunian power which dissolves artificial boundaries, reveals that that which we perceive is what we are. One can practice this and visualize people, animals, plants, minerals, anything, opening the heart until naught is but me comes into consciousness as a realization. The mind alone won't do it. The heart and the heart in the head and the transcendental mind of Buddhi, these are needed. So let us one by one take them, these great planetary gods whose energy is now more received upon the earth than at other times. First, Jupiter, all of the benevolence, the faith, the hope, the charity, the selfless service, overflowing all the lesser states of consciousness and absorbing human consciousness in this one great ocean of consciousness, uplifting, with kindness, with goodness, with positivity, with the vision of the better way, and in faith, the realization that what that vision represents is real. Jupiter is present. And we breathe that energy into us, this Jupiterian stream of energy, sometimes considered royal blue tinged with purple. We take it in, we breathe it in. You can even put the glyph of Jupiter in your heart center or in the heart and the head to facilitate the intake of these energies. This idea of better in every way, it is the force or the energy which brings all things together, the God of inclusiveness. And so we will attune with this energy and these qualities, and we will view ourselves as imbued by them and transmitting them into our group or groups or humanity, knowing how much the positive side of the Jupiterian energies is needed in the group work and the group life. So visualizing the good and the benevolence, the Jupiterian ray is taken in and distributed. And when it is said that joy is a special wisdom, as it is said in the Agni Yoga books, there's so much of Jupiter contained in that thought. So let us rise up in joy through the power of Jupiter. We release ourselves then from that energy and think on the power of that remote planet recently so stunningly photographed, Pluto, both the esoteric and hierarchical ruler of Pisces. Now, for the disciple, for the aspirant becoming the disciple, the esoteric aspect applies. It's Pluto as the agent of purification, of healing, of the expurgation of all impediments that are hidden deep in the aura. Such a great cleansing so that we can be closer to the higher energies and identify with them. Pluto will be killing all desire for life within the worlds of illusion. And in that respect, Pluto is a great accompaniment of the Buddha's Four Noble Truths. It's a real planet, of course. It's a real deity. And it's here. Space, as we think of it, does not count. That first ray consciousness of Pluto is here. And as it passes through the various layers of our personality, it will drag to the surface, DK's words, drag to the surface all that is hidden, all that impedes, and we will be purified, thus healed, thus made whole. And we certainly need that. So we will send its healing energies into our group and groups. On the Om, we will see them pouring in. And we will be rid of those combinations of energies and forces which have blocked our way. But in the hierarchical sense, which is even more potent, we realize that Pluto, in its highest aspect, acts as an agent for the spiritual triad and the monad, and conveys the power to cut away and destroy all the limiting ties that bind the soul to the perception of time and space in the ordinary sense, releasing the soul into the timelessness and spacelessness, the non-locality of the spiritual triad. It is one of the great disillusioning energies. And so we imagine this power of Pluto pouring into our groups, pouring into humanity, killing out illusion, especially when combined with the intuition of Neptune. So Pluto, dispelling evil, casting out evil, and release from the material forces. We imagine its power now pouring in. This note C sharp, which I sometimes identify with the work of Pluto. It is a planet of exorcism, a planet which destroys obsession and possession. Though wrongly used, it can aid those things, but it brings us freedom and a cleansing from those forces which pollute our relationship with divinity. So using the first ray, we can cast out evil, be rid of the accumulated dirt or filth of the ages, as in the story of Hercules in Aquarius. We can use Pluto to be free. Each one of us can, during these days, think of the qualities which are most hidden within us that need casting out, and call upon Pluto, the very present energy of Pluto, to aid in this casting out. Finally, the special ruler Neptune, the beautiful blue planet, the transcendental influence of Neptune in Pisces, working upon humanity as a whole, and how it can remove all the egotistical barriers and boundaries between human beings, such that The oneness of humanity, its one soul, its one spirit, are experientially realized through the power of identification. This is the planet which reveals the oneness which is. And so we bring it into our consciousness to do the work of dissolving separation, the illusion of separation. Its beautiful blue monadic ray, to which not so many yet respond, but we can begin a great flood of the second ray monadic energy of Neptune, entering our group and our groups and humanity. And we see the dissolution of the artificial boundaries and the real oneness which exists below and beneath the illusion of fragmentation. So in comes this tide of one making energy, and we use the second ray note, a G, as we see it happen. This energy in relation to Pisces will indeed reveal naught is but me. First the unity under Jupiter, and then the oneness under Neptune when Pluto has done its work of detaching the consciousness from identification with partial things. Now during these days, and as we lead up to the full moon, which is in just another maybe 14 hours or so, 15 hours, we'll treat these planetary deities and their energy as if they were present, as if we can tune in on them, as if we can receive them and use them wisely. Because we are in a solar system in which God is love. This is a great heart center, if we could but realize it. The whole lotus of the solar system is a heart in a cosmic logos. And of course, Pisces is a great cosmic decanate, the one that expresses love. Maybe we can realize that our God, our solar God, is a consuming fire, burning up all lesser things through the fire of love. An incredible energy that really we can barely fathom. Whatever our ray may be, we find our home within the sun and within the second ray soul of our solar God, our solar logos. So everything that happens zodiacally, planetarily, it's all meant to produce this realization of love wisdom. And in Pisces, that truth can really come home to us. Pisces bringing in, at this time, two soft line rays, the second and the sixth, love and devotion, plus all the rays of the ruling planets, the second of Jupiter, the first of Pluto, the second and sixth of Neptune, and a special light, the light revealing the light of life itself. Think of this, it ends forever the darkness of matter. Not at first, of course, but when human consciousness is much evolved, this light of Pisces ends forever the darkness of matter, and all is in the ocean of light, which reveals the oneness which ever is. That's what we're dealing with, if we can be sensitive enough to appreciate it. So we begin our meditation in silence on the theme of Pisces, the mantram of Pisces. However you want to conceive it, I leave the Father's home, and turning back, I save. Now that's like saying, I, the monad, send myself forth as an extension on a great pilgrimage through the 5 lower planes of Brahma, and turning back, aiming to go home on the monadic plane again, I bring with me those who can rise along the way. The effort is one of salvation. I leave the Father's home, and turning back, I save. And we will have some moments of silence on this pondering, on this very, very powerful and climactic mantram. I leave the Father's home, and turning back, I save. So this is the energy of the world Savior. And in our own little ways, understanding something about how people can be captivated by lower desire for things in the lower three worlds, we can offer something of that love, of that pervasive wisdom found in Pisces, with whomever we may meet, speaking proportionately, thinking the thoughts which help everybody take that next step forward. And do our part, to raise the red cattle of Geryon towards a higher level. Now keep those words in your mind. I leave the Father's home, and turning back I save, and however you can apply it in your life, in whatever small way, see what you can do as this energy of salvation becomes real to you, to me, to all. We don't save by just talking about salvation. We save through a particular quality of energy, which is carried in our words and carried in our radiation. And we've been building up towards it, and as the days of distribution come, we will try to find ways to release in a most helpful manner this energy which we have touched through the heart, this energy of Pisces and its planetary rulers, in that one about whom naught may be said, our local supercosmic logos. Pisces is one of the 12 petals in the heart within the head. It has a very powerful energy coming forth, perhaps we might say to the constellation Orion, with its tremendous second-ray star Betelgeuse, entering our local cosmic logos, energizing the principal 7 stars, but our sun among them, our solar logos, acting its role as heart center, and from our solar logos to Jupiter, to Pluto, to Neptune, and to the Earth at this time anyway. The different planets probably celebrate the zodiacal opportunities at different times because of the different inclinations of their axis and their differing vernal points and so forth. But for Earth, it's now and into Shambhala under the law of assembly, where it's made available, these energies, to every monad and to every soul affiliated with hierarchy, and into the personality and all of its chakras, but especially stimulating, well, the heart and the head, the heart center, and also the base of the spine center, ruled by Pluto. This is a real flow. It's available now. It's subtle, but it's available now. And this energy of Pisces and its rulers, it's the energy of salvation, and the world is much troubled. There are nations now which are undergoing famine and extreme food shortage, nations undergoing bombings and the seeming killing of innocent people because of sectarian thought, which is so narrow and lacking comprehension. There's all kinds of lying and misinformation out there, misleading people and giving them no basis to make decisions in the light of truth. In all the areas which should be positively affected by the various ashrams, there are found the misuse, the distortions of energy, the misuse of energy. The world is troubled. So single out for yourself one area where humanity is in particular need, where conflict is particularly strong, and we will send into that area the saving, resolving, reconciling Piscean energy, and through the creative imagination we will, as it were, watch a change for the better occur. And we'll use the sound of the Om 3 times on a secondary note, attuned to Pisces and two of the rulers of Pisces. And we will imaginatively watch a change for the better occur. So keep in mind, friends, that we are part of the saving force at this time, and we will close our meditation with the great invocation. It is our best means of promoting the right timing and preparation for the reappearance of the Christ. And wherever you are, you can say it out loud. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Full moon tomorrow, the 12th, GMT time at 2:53 and 42 seconds in the afternoon. We begin our broadcast at 1:15 GMT. You probably, being on the constant contact list of the Morya Federation, you probably have received this notification, but if you want to be on that constant contact list and you are not yet, please write to me, infinitize8@gmail.com, or to Brett M77@gmail.com. And we'll make sure that you get on the constant contact list, whereby you will be assured of notifications. Thank you very much. Long meditation, I realize. Thank you for concentrating together, all of us. And now we have to hold the point of tension as we build up towards the full moon. Well, actually, I guess it's more like 17 hours ahead, something like that. So, looking forward to meditating with you tomorrow. Tuya will be leading the broadcast service meditation, and let's really absorb what we must and understand what we must. It's the sign of loving understanding. Let us have that pervasive wisdom which is available in Pisces, and that great inclusive love and the power of identification. Keep these things firmly in mind. Keep your point of tension. Even if you go to sleep, hold it before you go to sleep and hold it again when you wake up. And we'll all be together working on the inside to help transform human consciousness and, as a consequence, human action. Thank you, and good night from here, and good day and good afternoon to all who are experiencing that. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.